Born on November 11, 1925, in Dayton, Ohio, Jonathan Harshman Winters III entered the world at a time of great economic and social upheaval. The Great Depression had cast a shadow over the country, and Winters' early life was fraught with challenges that would profoundly influence his comedy. His father, Jonathan Harshman Winters II, was a successful investment broker who lost everything in the stock market crash of 1929, leading to a downward spiral of alcoholism and eventually abandoning the family. This event left a young Jonathan and his mother, Alice Kilgore Rogers, to fend for themselves. Winters' mother, a radio personality with a flair for drama, became a central figure in his life. She nurtured his early interest in the arts, but the absence of his father left an emotional void. Winters' childhood was marked by frequent moves and a sense of instability, fostering a rich inner world where he created characters and voices to cope with his loneliness. This ability to inhabit different personas would later become the foundation of his comedic genius. Despite his natural talent, Winters struggled in school, often finding himself at odds with authority figures who didn't understand his unconventional behavior. He was a dreamer, a misfit who found refuge in his imagination. While his peers played traditional games, Winters would entertain himself by mimicking the voices of radio announcers or inventing elaborate stories. This early inclination towards performance hinted at the extraordinary career that lay ahead, even if it wasn't clear to those around him at the time. At the tender age of 17, Winters enlisted in the United States Marine Corps during World War II, lying about his age to serve his country. The rigors of military life were a stark contrast to the world of fantasy he had created for himself, but they also provided structure and discipline that would shape his later work. Stationed in the Pacific Theater, Winters saw action in the Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest conflicts of the war. The horrors of combat left an indelible mark on him, further complicating his already fragile mental state. Winters' time in the Marines was also when the first signs of his bipolar disorder began to emerge. He experienced mood swings, bouts of deep depression, and periods of intense creativity, symptoms that would persist throughout his life. Despite these challenges, he managed to find humor even in the direst situations, often entertaining his fellow soldiers with impromptu performances. His ability to bring laughter to those around him, even in the midst of war, was a testament to his resilience and innate comedic talent. After the war, Winters returned to the United States, but he was forever changed by his experiences. He attended Kenyon College, where he initially studied art, a passion that would remain with him throughout his life. However, it was during this time that he began to seriously consider a career in comedy. Encouraged by his new wife, Eileen Schauder, whom he had met shortly after returning from the war, Winters decided to take a leap of faith and pursue his dream. Winters' entry into the world of comedy was anything but conventional. He began his career as a radio disc jockey in his hometown of Dayton, where his natural ability to improvise and create characters quickly made him a local favorite. His big break came in 1953 when he moved to New York City, the epicenter of the entertainment world. The city's vibrant comedy scene provided Winters with the perfect platform to showcase his talents. It wasn't long before Winters caught the attention of television producers, who were captivated by his unpredictable and innovative style. His first major television appearance came on The Jack Paar Tonight Show, where his spontaneous humor and wide array of characters left audiences and the host in stitches. Winters' ability to improvise entire routines on the spot was unlike anything seen before, and he quickly became a regular guest on the show. Winters' comedy was a blend of sharp wit, absurdity, and poignant observation. He could transition seamlessly from one character to another, each with its own distinct voice and personality. Whether he was playing Maud Frickert, the feisty old lady, or Elwood P. Suggins, the clueless country bumpkin, Winters had a unique ability to bring his characters to life in a way that felt authentic and relatable. His performances were a masterclass in improvisation, and he became known as the comedian's comedian, admired by his peers for his unparalleled skill. In 1956, Winters released his first comedy album, Jonathan Winters in Wonderland, which became an instant success. The album showcased his improvisational genius and cemented his reputation as one of the most original voices in comedy. His success on television and in recordings led to more opportunities, including appearances on popular shows like The Steve Allen Show and The Gary Moore Show. Winters' star was on the rise, and he was soon considered one of the brightest talents in the industry. As Winters' career soared, so did the pressures that came with fame. The demands of the entertainment industry, combined with his already fragile mental state, began to take a toll on him. Winters was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a condition that was poorly understood at the time and often stigmatized. His mood swings became more pronounced, and he experienced periods of intense depression and anxiety. In 1959, at the height of his career, Winters suffered a nervous breakdown. The incident occurred while he was filming a television special, and it was so severe that he voluntarily admitted himself to a psychiatric hospital. This was the first of several hospitalizations as Winters grappled with his mental health. The public was largely unaware of the extent of his struggles, as Winters continued to perform and maintain his professional commitments. Winters' battle with mental illness was a constant presence in his life, and he often used humor as a coping mechanism. He was candid about his experiences, incorporating his struggles into his comedy routines. In one famous bit, he joked about his time in the psychiatric hospital, quipping, "You know, they put me in a room with padded walls, but I thought it was just another soundstage." While he made light of his condition, the reality was far more painful. Winters' mental health issues were compounded by a sense of isolation and loneliness. Despite his success, he often felt disconnected from those around him, struggling to find a sense of belonging. His marriage to Eileen, while supportive, was also strained by his unpredictable behavior and the demands of his career. The couple had 2 children, Jay and Lucinda, who were a source of joy for Winters, but even they couldn't alleviate the deep sadness that often consumed him. Despite the immense challenges he faced, Winters continued to work and create, drawing on his deep well of creativity to push through the darkness. The 1960s and 1970s saw Winters expand his repertoire, taking on roles in films and television shows that showcased his versatility as a performer. One of his most memorable roles came in the 1963 comedy classic It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, where he played Lenny Pike, a bumbling truck driver caught up in a frantic race for a hidden fortune. Winters' performance was a standout in a film filled with comedy legends, and it earned him widespread acclaim. In addition to his film work, Winters also made a mark on television, starring in the short-lived but critically acclaimed variety show The Wacky World of Jonathan Winters in 1972. The show was a platform for Winters to showcase his improvisational talents, featuring a mix of sketch comedy, stand-up, and character work. While the show was praised for its originality, it struggled to find a large audience and was cancelled after just 1 season. Despite its brief run, The Wacky World of Jonathan Winters is remembered as a groundbreaking program that paved the way for future comedy shows. Winters' ability to reinvent himself and remain relevant in an ever-changing industry was a testament to his resilience and adaptability. He found new audiences through his voice work in animated television shows like The Smurfs, where he voiced the character of Grandpa Smurf, and The Flintstones, where he brought to life a variety of characters. His distinctive voice and ability to infuse his characters with humor and warmth made him a beloved figure in children's entertainment. The 1980s and 1990s saw Winters experience a resurgence in popularity, particularly through his work with Robin Williams on the hit sitcom Mork and Mindy. Winters played Mirth, the child of Mork and Mindy, a role that allowed him to showcase his improvisational skills alongside Williams, who idolized Winters and often cited him as a major influence. The chemistry between the 2 comedians was palpable, and their scenes together were a highlight of the show. In 1991, Winters won an Emmy Award for his role in the television show Davis Rules, a recognition that affirmed his status as one of the most talented and versatile performers of his generation. He continued to work in both film and television, with notable roles in movies like The Shadow, 1994, and guest appearances on shows like The Twilight Zone. As Winters entered his later years, the toll of his lifelong battle with mental illness became increasingly evident. In 2009, he suffered a devastating loss when his wife of over 60 years, Eileen, passed away. Eileen had been a constant source of support and stability for Winters, and her death left him heartbroken. Without her, Winters became more reclusive, retreating into his art and spending much of his time painting and reflecting on his life. Winters' health began to decline in the years following Eileen's death. He continued to make occasional public appearances, but they became increasingly rare as his physical and mental health deteriorated. Friends and colleagues who visited him during this time noted that while he still had moments of brilliance, he was often melancholic and withdrawn. The man who had once brought so much joy to others now struggled to find it within himself. On April 11, 2013, Jonathan Winters passed away at his home in Montecito, California, at the age of 87. The official cause of death was reported as natural causes, but those close to him knew that his heart had been broken long before. The news of his passing was met with an outpouring of grief and tributes from fans and fellow comedians, who remembered him as a trailblazer in the world of comedy and a man whose influence would be felt for generations to come. Winter's death marked the end of an era, but his legacy continues to live on. He was a pioneer who pushed the boundaries of comedy, challenging conventions and redefining what it meant to be funny. His improvisational style, characterized by quick wit, absurdity, and a deep understanding of human nature, set the stage for future generations of comedians. Figures like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, and Steve Martin have all cited Winters as a major influence on their work, a testament to the enduring impact of his genius.